3 months after the war, a shepherd climbed the ridge of Rezang. He found 96 Indian soldiers frozen solid in their final combat positions. Some bodies held naked bayonets. Others had fingers locked around weapon triggers. Every soldier had been shot in the front. No bullet wounds were found on their backs. This sector was commanded by Major Shaitan Singh. Standard histories record only a panic and a rapid retreat. Your textbook does not mention this event. The secondary school history curriculum systematically excludes post-independence military history. This specific file was omitted from national records. The Battle of Rezang is absent from the official educational frameworks. Instead, public memory is shaped by popular cinema and dramatized accounts. These films often push the collective sacrifice of the Jawans into the background. The administrative apparatus chose a path of institutional. The standard narrative frames the 1962 war as a swift humiliation. It claims the leadership was blind to the threat. Territorial claims overlapped along the line of actual control. Tensions rose in the Northeast Frontier Agency and Western Ladakh. The state established isolated outposts to assert sovereignty. They assumed China would not launch an offensive. In 1959, Lieutenant General Thorat drafted a defense blueprint. This document outlined the resources needed to mitigate a Chinese invasion. The defense minister dismissed the plan as alarmist. He chose not to show the warnings to the Prime Minister. Charlie Company of 13 Kumon was deployed to the pass. Major Shaitan Singh designed a diamond-shaped defense along the ridge. He positioned 3 separate platoons across a 2-kilometer. Soldiers wore canvas shoes at high altitude. They held vintage bolt-action rifles against modern automatic weapons. The mountain terrain completely blocked rear Indian artillery support. Yet, the company successfully repelled the initial waves of infantry attacks. They used disciplined machine gun fire to inflict heavy casualties. Major Shaitan Singh moved across the ridge to coordinate the lines. A burst of medium machine gun fire struck. The opposing force was the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Specifically, it was the 3rd Battalion, 11th Infantry Regiment. They were commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Gao Huancheng. These troops were battle-hardened veterans of the Korean War. They possessed SKS semi-automatic and AK-47 automatic rifles. Their logistical support included heavy mortars and Recolles guns. The Chinese army deployed 15 yaks carrying mounted medium. The pass was a critical choke point for the Chushul Valley. Enemy capture would overrun the vital tactical airstrip. An unobstructed advance directly on Leh would follow. The company under Major Shaitan Singh stood in their path. Rocket fire destroyed the communications equipment at headquarters. The isolated platoons could no longer coordinate their defense. 700 Chinese soldiers flanking from the rear closed the trap. Ammunition supplies were entire. With bunkers leveled, the remnants of Charlie Company launched a final stand. Soldiers charged out of ruined trenches with fixed bayonets. Standard bayonets failed to penetrate the thick padded winter parkas. The defenders adapted by engaging in physical hand-to-hand wrestling. Naik Singh Ram charged the enemy barehanded. He choked 2 Chinese soldiers to death in the open. He smashed the skull of a third against a boulder. Jemdar Surja Ram killed 7 enemy soldiers. Official accounts claimed the lines folded without matching enemy losses. The actual ledger contradicts this version. Naik Sahi Ram destroyed his machine gun to prevent its capture. The mortar crew fired all but 7 of their 1,000 rounds. They died holding the final unloosed bomb in their hands. These actions halted the momentum of the infantry advance. The standard history records an unmitigated national humiliation during the war. The archives document a different reality at this specific pass. 120 isolated Javans refused orders to retreat. They fought without any defensive artillery support over the ridge. They stood until the final man and the last bullet. The company killed over 1,300 soldiers of the advancing force. Their resistance secured the Chushul Valley from direct capture. When survivors reached the battalion headquarters, they faced institutional skepticism. Senior commanders refused to believe the scale of the defensive stand. Officers threatened the witness with a court-martial for fabricating the report. This initial suppression became a permanent insert military history omission. The entire engagement was not selected for inclusion in school textbooks. Post-independence military history remains systematically excluded from the official. The commander lay behind a boulder. His pulse stopped at exactly 8:15 a.m. His wristwatch stopped at that same moment. The defensive line was completely overrun. Remaining survivors withdrew under heavy fire. The positions were left silent under the snow. The historical legacy remains a touchstone in modern border relations. During the 2020 standoff, troops seized dominating high ground. They located the exact site where Major Shaitan Singh fell. The battalion constructed a forward cemented marker at the location. However, disengagement terms required both armies to withdraw. The area became part of a designated buffer zone. The forward marker was dismantled to comply. You weren't taught about the Battle of Rezang in your schools. The physical landmarks are dismantled, and the textbooks remain silent. Why does a nation choose to omit its own defensive history? The official memorial continues to stand in the rear Chushul Valley. But the specific identity details are frequently pushed into the background. The collective sacrifice of the Ahir Javans defines their historical memory. Public awareness depends entirely on commercial cinema rather than The search party verified the final positions in the winter of 1963. 96 bodies remained preserved at the summit. A medical orderly died while holding a bandage and a morphine syringe. The company had fired almost every single mortar round allocated. Their frozen bodies bore bullet wounds only in front, yet textbooks completely exclude their final stand. If this is the first time you have heard this story, it is because someone chose not to include it. The